Now it's time to get back home and listen to what government is doing, has been doing, and intends to continue doing. I have an incredible gentleman, a man who, without a doubt, by the time you're done with his presentation, you will know that he has the right head properly fixed on a great pair of shoulders. He will be speaking to us on the opportunities for SMEs in the oil and gas sector from the perspective of the Uganda National Oil Company. So without further ado, allow me, with great humility and with your applause, welcome John Bosco Habomugisha, the General Manager, National Pipeline Company Ltd. Welcome, JB.
I guess I can remove my mask because we are socially distanced. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here and to share with you what we know about oil and gas, and to ensure that we add value to your preparedness in being part of the game that is going on in the country. What to some of us is the biggest game that has ever happened to us. You know that we have taken very many years to prepare for this, and now it begins to evolve. And the key question is, are you prepared? And how can we help you to prepare? My name's John Bosco Habomugisha. Because it's a mouthful, my friends call me JB. And I have a few slides to share with you. I'm waiting for them on the screen. I'm the General Manager of the National Pipeline Company, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Uganda National Oil Company. And you can tell I really speak and dream pipelines. I also handle storage facilities, and I also oversee the business we are doing in the downstream. In the downstream, we are doing bulk trading, and we are trying to answer the question, can the Uganda National Oil Company play a significant role in the fuel stations enhancements? How do we supply fuel to this country at a sustainable price? Thank you so much. And so I hope the slides will be coming on screen for you. But generally what I'm going to talk about is what UNOC is doing across the whole petroleum value chain, which refers to, when we say petroleum value chain, we mean the whole journey of oil, from exploration to field development, to production, through building of facilities, which includes the processing facilities and pipelines and refining and getting refined products to the market. That's the entire petroleum value chain. So what this should not confuse you. The value chain means from beginning to the end, from the well to the pump. What is UNOC doing? What is the current stake of UNOC in the projects across that value chain? And what is our value propositions? What is our performance there? And what can you, as the SMEs, do in this space working with us? We are happy to be here working together with the Stanbic Bank, the Standard Bank Group. It's a pleasure that we continue to develop skills in the SMEs space so that we maximize the value that can stay here in our country in the oil and gas sector. So I've spoken briefly about the value chain, so I'll not spend so much time there. Let me speak about the upstream. When we talk about upstream, we are talking about exploration, development, and production. Now, currently, you're aware that we have a number of projects in oil and gas. You have heard about the Tilenga project that is north of Lake Albert, where Total is operating. You have heard about the Kingfisher project, which is in the south of Lake Albert, and CNOOC is operating there. And those are the two main upstream projects going on. We also continue to explore, because the more oil we can find, the better for our country. And so when we talk about development and production, we are really speaking of activities that involve a lot of engineering. Some of it is highly specialized, but they always require support. There are a lot of inputs. There's requirement for skilled and unskilled labor. There's need for transport, for food, for medical. So all these things, accommodation. So all these activities that will be happening, whether it is in the word upstream, which is exploration, development, and production, whether it is in refining, whether it is in the pipeline, there are inputs of different categories, as I've mentioned. Goods that will be coming in the country will require clearing. So you find clearing and forwarding is involved. All these activities require insurance. As I mentioned, everybody that is working will require food. They require transport. They require accommodation. So in your spaces, wherever you are, you have a role to play. I may not mention all of you what you're doing, but it's just to emphasize that we all have a role to play. Oil and gas requires inputs from many areas. So we continue to look at exploration. In terms of exploration, we are looking at moving expert people who are dealing with seismic surveys. So immediately you see people, then you hear what I've been telling you. They need to move, they need medical, they need food. So we need to prepare ourselves in those areas. As Patrick has just mentioned, the key issue is always standards, standards, standards. Because the oil and gas industry is very sensitive. You err in one space if you provide food that is not appropriate, and you send this person who has eaten food that is not good, it's contaminated, and it goes to a rig. Before you know it, you have a problem at the rig, but actually the problem didn't start from the rig. It started with food. So that's why there are sensitivities around everything that oil and gas does. So whatever we do, we need to ensure we address the word standards. Are we compliant? Same thing with the development and production. Highly sensitive activities. Inputs, some of them are civil works. You will have civil engineering companies around. How are you preparing? You will have inputs like gravel, like sand, like supervision of works, equipment. All of these aspects remain relevant in all these activities. And it's important that we continue to prepare. There are others in terms of employment. Do we have the necessary skilling that is required by the industry? When it comes to skills, the keyword is certification. If you have a welding company, your welders certified to the standard of oil and gas. Is your company certified in areas of safety, of quality, those compliance certifications, have you addressed them? Because once you do that, then you can talk about effective participation in the sector. You're also aware that as a country, we are working on a refinery project. The refinery is one of the most important projects this country is focused on to ensure that we add value to the oil that we are going to produce. Now, on the refinery, we have a partner we are working with. It's a consortium of companies led by one Yatra Ventures and many other participants. And the key issue is that it's a consortium because of the complexity of the project. So working with the partner, we are ensuring that the studies are done and they are to international standards. Those were completed, and we expect that soon we should be into the final investment decision space. We expect that during the coming year, we should be talking about investment decisions for the refinery. All factors remaining constant. There are many parameters that affect these decisions, including what you are experiencing today, the issues of climate. Climate issues have impacted the financing of oil and gas industry. So that's one of the key assumptions we are making, that that will not be a major constraint. And we are reviewing the designs and providing for compliance in terms of sustainability of the projects we are working on. So the configuration of the refinery was already approved. The land, as we know, was already acquired in Hoima, and the environmental impact assessments almost completed. Land acquisition for water abstraction is the evaluation of expressions of interest are ongoing. Refinery requires significant water volumes, and those are aspects that have to be certified. You get compliance certificates, then you are allowed to actually use that water, and you have to show that you can reprocess that water and use it effectively. Capital expenditure is in the range of $3.5 billion, going into even $4 billion. So these are numbers that you can see. We are not about to do these projects alone, because as a country we have many other things to do. We cannot take $3.5 billion, put it in the refinery, when we also have other partners that can work with us. And as a country, we have issues to deal with, including what you know that is a bit of a challenge. You need the security first. If you don't have a good environment for investment, international investors take their money elsewhere. So that's why, as a country, we first deal with security, we deal with the environmental matters, we deal with the social aspects, so that you can attract investments in the country. So we continue to work with these partners to ensure that the refinery comes online. And if there is anything that is really critical for us, is to ensure that the refinery is brought on stream as soon as possible. Then there is the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline, where we are working as UNOC. We are working with Total, with the CNOOC and TPDC of Tanzania. UNOC is operating at, we are holding 15% equity. This is a pipeline that you're aware is from Hoima through the Mutukura areas through Tanzania to the port of Tanga. You also, by now you know that most of the pipeline is actually in Tanzania. In Uganda, it's about 20%. But the key issue about the pipeline is a transportation system. So the key issue is, what is it transporting? It is transporting Uganda's oil to the international market. So it doesn't matter where it passes, as long as we have agreements with the transit state, in this case Tanzania, to ensure that this infrastructure is protected by international law. In this very room, the intergovernmental agreement for this pipeline was signed in this very room. And so it remains historic that we continue speaking about it here. How far have we gone? So far, all the studies were done. Detailed engineering continues through complex projects like these. We finished the resettlement planning. We are now working on a compensation of project affected persons. As we speak, there are people in the field working on land acquisition. And the key element is that this issue of land, in every infrastructure project, if you don't solve the issue of land, you cannot have a project. So this has to be sorted, and it's almost nearing completion. Then we have payouts. All these compensations are in line with international requirements for financing. So far, the issue of lenders to this project, it has progressed. I can mention to you that we had to deal with the climate issues. We had to deal with the concerns of civil society organizations. Yesterday, we were answering to a number of queries to ensure that it's a project that is sensitive to people, sensitive to the environment, and compliant with the global practices. We are working on a law that allows the development of this project. The concern is that some of these things we have never done in our area. You find that the legal framework is in almost 20, 30 different laws, and becomes difficult for international investors to say the legal framework for this project is 20 different laws. So that's why you'll hear that we are working on a bill which should become an act once it is passed, to ensure that the investors can feel confident to invest in our country. The procurement of what we call tier one contractors or suppliers, meaning the first level, where, for example, you talk about supply of pipes, you talk about a construction company or companies, you talk about the main logistics entity that moves these pipes and pumps and everything. That procurement process, we are in the award stages to ensure that we have commitments to develop the project. Now, these are complex international procurements. They have been going on for almost 4 years now, and we would have closed some of the legal aspects is to ensure that the company, the ECOP company, is in place, because it is the one to issue these contracts. The key issue for SMEs is that once we have these tier one contractors, that's where you subcontract. So your contracting as SMEs is at tier 2, even tier 3, to provide, for example, if it's logistics, a logistics company that is handling the main operations will also need subcontractors. Same for a construction company that is building a pipeline. How do they secure accommodation? How do they secure movement of smaller materials? How do they secure medical services? How do they get food? So there is activity around every tier one contractor or supplier is available to the SMEs to subcontract. So that's very, very important. And as I mentioned, for now, just make sure you are ticking your compliance boxes in terms of certifications, in terms of standards. Then there is the Kabale Industrial Park, where the refinery is being developed. This is one of the critical places that you also need to be aware of. The refinery comes with many other subsidiary developments. And that's why around the refinery, we have planned an industrial park. We are going to have fertilizer plants. We are going to have gas plants. We're going to have logistics. You have accommodation space. So it's a whole layout. And you are aware that in this same place, there is an international airport, the second international airport in this country, the Kavale or Hoima International Airport. So this is space where there's going to be significant operations and activities. And as we progress, you need to keep your eyes on the developments that are going on. The land was acquired a long time ago. We have been looking for a partner to work with in developing this industrial park. It is with UNOC because it is a petrol-based industrial park. It is not the usual industrial parks that we have. So this is highly specialized, and it has been enhanced with the presence of an airport. This airport, one of the things you're going to see enhanced by this development is the agribusiness. Are we able to develop agribusiness around this airport? Because it becomes a route to an international market. We are going to have international flights here. Can we produce to global standards and export food to the world? So this is a very, very important space for you to also look at. Storage terminals. The thing we received this terminal, there was really a struggle around keeping it to the minimum standards for industry. We have ensured that it is compliant. We audit it in terms of technical compliance regularly. As we speak, this is one of the most compliant facilities in our country. And for the first time, it is actually making money for Uganda through UNOC. Initially, it was built to hold reserves, which basically means you put there fuel and you only use it when you have a challenge. Today, as we speak, we are generating a revenue there, and we are continuing to develop. We are using this as a stepping stone to develop trading, which I'll talk about briefly. We want to be able to bring volumes, hold them here, resell them, increase the volumes so that we can also contribute to national security of petroleum supply. So this is an important facility. We are working with our partner to link it to the lake so that we can reduce the cost of supplying Uganda in terms of cost of logistics. Can we bring more volumes through the lake using barges? And yes, we can. Once we achieve that level, these are some of the contributions that may not be seen quickly, but in reality, can we reduce the cost of logistics? If we do that, then we also will have contributed to reducing the price on the pump, which affects all of us. What can we do as a country to reduce the pump price? One of the spaces we are addressing is to see how to reduce the cost of supplying Uganda. So Ginger Storage Terminal is that important. We are also working on Kampala Storage Terminal, a new terminal near Buloba in Namwambula, which is a greenfield project, meaning there's nothing there. We are looking for a partner. We are almost completing that process. Before this year ends, we should be able to announce a partner so that we can develop a terminal that will continue to be increased in phases up to 320 million liters capacity. As we speak, our country is we have around a total of 104 million liters of storage capacity. And yet we consume around 180 million liters per month. So effectively, we cannot store adequately for a month. If anything happened to stop supply of fuel to our country, we don't have adequate storage facilities. And that's why Kampala Storage Terminal is very, very important for us. So as I mentioned, before this year ends, we should have a partner. What is the benefit for SMEs? Once we have a partner, we go into construction. Construction of it and terminal involves a lot of fabrication. Are you in the fabrication space? Are you compliant to the standards for welding, for the handling of plates for tanks? Do you understand the oil and gas sector? Because once you have those compliances, this is going to be another interesting project for you. Of course, there is civil engineering works, you have earthworks, you have concrete, you have many things. It's a construction. There will be movement in terms of logistics. There will be imports. There will be people working. They will need to be accommodated, to be fed, to be protected. So all these are aspects that do benefit all of you to the extent that you are fully prepared to participate. So just keep in mind the word standards, compliance, when you talk about welding, because we are going to weld all these tanks. Do you have welders who are certified? So all these are opportunities, but they can easily pass if we don't prepare. Yeah, as I mentioned, storage is enhancing our capacity to participate in trading. And that's why we are insisting on enhancing Jinja Storage Terminal and also building Kampala Storage so that we can build capacity trade. We have been in this space since March 2020 to become a participant in the importation of bulk petroleum. Bulk means we are not in the retail business. You have not seen UNOC logo on a retail fuel station. Not that we'll never go there, but our focus for now is to ensure that the oil marketing companies, the ones in retail, we can support them because it's really about how to get adequate fuel supplies to our country at the lowest possible price. So we have been in this space and we are supporting it using the storage facilities. As I speak, we are working to increase our volumes, which really means can we become importers. For now, we have been buying from the resellers and we want to move to the level of an importer, bringing fuel from the high seas, coming through the ports and putting logistics entities to work with us to bring the volumes here. The benefits to SMEs, again, it's similar. When you talk about moving fuel, you're talking about trucks. Do we have Ugandans in that space? So far, we have been working on an agreement with the UTA. They have a range of trucks to ensure that we have Ugandans working with us. We are also a Ugandan company. And the key issue is to maximize the value that we can keep in our country. We are also working with insurance entities. We are working with the clearing and forwarding. So as you can see, this is a space that also provides opportunities for national content, working with the small and medium enterprises. I just want to give you a quick indication that when you look at UNOC, this is just an indication for you in terms of our suppliers who are local and who are foreign. Our expenses, as the years went by, have been generally more local than foreign. When you look at the gold strips. I thought the slides were moving, but they are not. I don't know if we could get to the next slide. Yeah, that's just an indication to you that we do whatever is in our means to ensure that we buy Uganda, we build Uganda. The blue you can see is smaller in terms of our spend, which basically tells you that we are a Ugandan focused entity working to build Uganda. It's not possible to avoid international supply completely, because there will always be space where you need technology, you need the specialized services that you may not find locally. And so there is always a component that is outsourced internationally. So it's just to emphasize that we are for Uganda, we are Ugandans. And so as we continue to build your capacity, to emphasize what we are doing, it's just to repeat the words that I share with Patrick. Please work on your space in terms of which standards are required in your space to meet the requirements of oil and gas. Find out. If you don't know, inquire. We have the Petroleum Authority of Uganda to help. We have the National Bureau of Standards. You have us. Just confirm which standards do you need to comply with? Which certifications do you need for your people? And so in doing that, you are prepared to be part of the projects that are ongoing. As I indicated, the whole petroleum value chain, if you add up the investments that we are seeing, you are almost approaching $20 billion. This is a game that has never happened in our country. It's big. That's why we need big players, the tier one. But below tier one, there is another level, and there's tier three. But in all these levels, the key issue is compliance to standards, certifications, all these aspects. So please do your bit, because the game has begun. As we speak, there's work going on to prepare the central processing facilities where they are going to be built. There's the early works for the pipeline will be commencing soon. As I indicate, during the coming year, we may start preparing for Kampala storage terminal. And we are also working in Jinja to link the terminal to the lake. We are also working on bulk fuel trading. In all these areas, what I have mentioned is really about how prepared are you. Please do that, and let's ensure that we keep maximum value in Uganda. I thank you very much, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you.